in the workplace, they just want to work me to the ground.
You work later than anybody else. There's a lot of pickup projects they get assigned to you because, well, what's your excuse?
Other people can leave at 3 o'clock to pick up the kids. If I leave at 3 o'clock to work from home for a couple more hours, it is a weird conversation that I have to have with my boss.
If there's a travel opportunity, I'm the first to be asked. But I do think there is an expectation. I wouldn't decline it, because what would be the reason?
I've been both of those women. I've worked with both of those women, and I still see myself thinking like, well, that person doesn't have to get home to their kid. They have a little extra bandwidth. And so I'm guilty of it too.
It does feel like my life is less valued in the workplace because I'm not a parent.
It doesn't matter if I don't have kids to go home to. I still have a life, and I shouldn't have to be penalized because technically they think I have more free time because I don't have children.
Why being kidless in a workplace is such a disadvantage? Why do I have to work all the major holidays just because I don't have kids? I am not working for Susan or Taquisha just because she has 5 kids and need to be home with her family. Me too. I have a family that loves me. Yeah, I am family oriented, and I'm going to be home all the major holidays. You're not going to put me on Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. You're not even going to put me on MLK Day. You're not. I don't care. And it really is a real thing, and we not finna make it normal around here. I have a life too. Just because I'm not out here popping and bopping don't mean I shouldn't be at home with my family on these major holidays. You're not going to put me on Christmas every year. You're not going to put me on Thanksgiving every year just because I don't have kids. I do have a family, and I'm going to be home with them. Why they do that? Let's talk about it.
I'm tired of being punished at work for being child-free. You know, some of my coworkers have kids and they get special treatment, get to leave early sometimes. My shifts just got cut back, got pushed to later hours because some girl that's worked here less than half the amount of years I've worked here had a baby. So now she gets to have my shift and I get to come in later because I don't have a fucking kid. So I'm coming up with a plan. I think that what I'm going to do is see if I can get like a fake baby bump and like slowly, progressively make it larger at work. And then I can take a maternity leave for 3 months. And then all you would have to do to keep up that charade is make AI baby pictures for my social media. And then I can just age up those baby pictures as the years progress. I think it's a good plan.
So there's an article about a child-free woman who refuses to trade her shift on Thanksgiving with her coworker who happens to be a mother. I'm going to tag the original creator's video who I saw this from below, but basically I agree too. As someone who is child-free themselves, it is insane to think that I should have to sacrifice my holiday and my family time just for your family. I have worked retail, and I can proudly say I never worked a single holiday. When I was in college, I worked retail, and every holiday, major holiday for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I always went home. I lived in a completely different state and I had no family in my college state. So if I didn't go home, I would be completely alone. And while that is the situation for some, I was fortunate enough to be able to go home, and I didn't want that to be my reality. So I went home. I only had 2 bird brain coworkers who would try and challenge me on it. And I then was able to pull the "my mom has cancer" card, and that would quickly shut it down. But to assume you get the time off because you have kids, that's crazy. That's selfish. And the argument of, oh, well, it's the company's fault. Yes, it's the company's fault. So then why do I, the child-free coworker who is making the same amount as you, have to pick up the slack? Because here's the thing, leading up to the holidays, you're taking time off early to go to holiday pageants. You're taking time off early throughout the year to go to doctor's appointments and what have you because of your kids. So you don't get to always have it your way, and you have to have some give and take and make some sacrifices. And I know it's hard, and I know it's not conventional, but sometimes you're going to have to shift your holidays around, and you may have to work on a Christmas. All of this is also coming from the perspective of a child who was raised by a single parent. My mom worked in IT and in IT gaming in Vegas, so that's a very male-dominated field. She was oftentimes the only woman on her team or the only woman with kids. For the most part, it worked out okay, but one New Year's Eve, she had to pay a babysitter $250 to watch me, and she was okay with it. You know why? Because that Thanksgiving and that Christmas, she had it off, no problem, no contest. And so when no one wanted to swap shifts with her for New Year's Eve, she understood and she got it. Did it suck to have to pay $250 for some babysitter to watch a 6-year-old take a nap? Yeah, I'm sure that did suck. But it was also a choice she made to have me, and it is no one else's responsibility in that company. That is a multi-billion-dollar company because she was working at the Hard Rock at the time. Yeah, that's not on her either.
People without kids at work. Like, why is my free time less valuable? Because I work with a guy who has a kid, and not only did I have to do his job and mine while he was on paternity leave, which I know is not his fault, it's a company issue, but like even when we have deadlines, sometimes we have to work until 9, 10, 2 in the morning. And on those 2 a.m. nights, he always like dips out early. He's like, I gotta put the kid down. And like tomorrow, I was off today, but my coworker called out sick because of allergies. And the rule is if we miss our in-office day,
Nothing bothers me more than when someone puts a blanket statement over a category of people. And as someone who has children, I'm tired of hearing this. From your entire video, all I got from it is that you don't have boundaries when it comes to your employer, and also your employer is taking advantage of that. I get tired of people with kids, without kids, who are pushovers coming on the internet and being like, I'm so tired of this category of people because my work doesn't take advantage of them. Learn how to say no. Learn how to say no and set boundaries. So working till 2 in the morning is fucking insane for anybody. Set a fucking boundary. Well, we have a deadline. Okay, well, if we can't get it done by a reasonable hour, then I'm going fucking home, whether I have kids or not. The paternity leave thing, don't even get me started. You're doing 2 people's jobs. Say no. That's not your coworker's problem, or the fact that they have kids is irrelevant. Your job's taking advantage of you. I've met people without children that are equally as entitled. But you know what? 9 out of 10 times, I'm not seeing someone with children coming on here and being like, yeah, a single person at my work, they took the whole day off to go to the spa. Which, by the way, I've seen single people do that. And I don't get on here as a parent because I know everyone's priorities are different. Your coworkers' priorities are their children. They choose to prioritize something over their job. If you choose to prioritize your job over other things in your life, that is on you, not your fucking coworker. And the kids aspect of it is literally irrelevant. Say no, stand up for yourself, and set fucking boundaries. And stop making it everyone else's problem that you're a pushover.
Because I didn't have any meetings and nobody needed me, so I left to be with my kids. She told me that I can't do that anymore and that I need to be at the office.
Yes, HR needs to be at the office, or at least like in office, as in like working. I'm not trying to come at this from a combative, perspective, but her entire video is her getting really like visibly upset because in her own words, she leaves work early all the time, either to get her youngest child from daycare or to pick up her child early. And if she just didn't have any meeting or nothing to do, she would just leave. And then when she had a review, her supervisor was like, listen, you're doing a good job, but you need to be in the office. I don't understand how that's shocking. In your own words, you leave early a lot just because. It can't be that startling that your boss is like, no, we need you here. And here's my other thing, right? You have to keep in mind that your coworkers were not even awarded what you were up until this point. We don't get to just leave early on a whim. And listen, I'm not a big fan of return to office mandates, but that doesn't seem to be what this is about. This seems to be about you simply wanting to work less hours.
So I think a lot of us these days are having the really necessary conversations around childcare benefits and paid family leave at work. And those conversations absolutely need to be happening. Those benefits need to exist. But something I see discussed less is what happens to the coworkers that are still there, to the coworkers who are left covering for the people who have kids. This is an Ask a Boss advice column from The Cut called "I'm sick of covering for my coworkers who had kids." Okay, let's get into it. The first thing the letter writer wants to stress is that they are not upset that their coworkers are having kids. They're not upset that their coworkers are taking paid time off. They should. And they write, that's not the problem. I'm glad we have a robust parental leave policy. The issue is, they write, that I'm now being asked to handle more after-hours work events when before they weren't my responsibility. Now that she's back, I'm still being asked to cover the events in her city because she can't find childcare. I have a full social life and plans most days of the week. It shouldn't matter what I'm doing. My time outside of work is no less important than anyone else's just because I don't have children. This is such an important point, that because our society prioritizes people who are partnered, people who have children, those of us who might be single or not have children, or let's say caretaking for a parent, are made to feel like our lives are less worthy, that whatever we have going on is not as important. So what do you actually do here? How do you stand up for yourself while also not throwing the coworker with the kids under the bus? So what Allison, who is the advice columnist, writes is, sit down with your boss and basically say, and she writes in quotes here, I was able to cover events in City X when you were on leave, but it's not something I can do long term. I wanted to give you a heads up so you can make other plans. Ooh, that stresses me out just reading it. And she says, it's possible that your boss will tell you, sorry, your job description has changed. This is required. In which case you get to decide if you want to stay or leave. But she says having this conversation with your boss is really important because it takes the onus off of you and puts it onto your boss, onto management and onto the company. And I want to read this quote because I think it's so good. Policies and practices that only consider the needs of parents while leaving everyone else behind only serve to pit parents and non-parents against each other, which conveniently shifts attention away from employers' responsibility to make jobs sustainable and compatible with people's real lives. So it is not about you and your coworkers having beef, you being upset that they have children and are left to cover. No, it is that the company should be figuring out how to deal with this new situation, that they should be hiring more people, that they should be rearranging how people work. I find this utterly interesting and I really want to know, have you been in this situation before? Have you had the talk with your boss? How did it go? Please share in the comments.
There's been a lot of discussion since this one lady posted a video, I can't find it, where she was complaining, she works in HR, she was complaining because her boss kind of like yelled at her because she's no longer allowed to like leave early every single day to go and like be with her child. And it sparked a big conversation around like mothers in the workplace. And I wanted to put my 2 cents in on this topic at the risk of pissing people off as usual. Before I make my point, I just want to say parents, they have the hardest job in the fucking world. I have the utmost respect for parents or people that are caring for children. It is such a fucking difficult job, which is why the decision to have kids, I think, is probably the most important decision that you will ever make in your entire life. With that being said, I do believe that childless people should have the exact same privileges in the workplace as people with children. And I stand by that 100% because it is a choice to have children. And I'm going to illustrate this in an example that happened all the fucking time at my old place of work. So let's say that my coworker Jenna and I have the exact same title. We are working the exact same position. Jenna has 2 kids. I have chosen to not have kids, 0 kids at this point in time, right? And Jenna gets to leave like 20, 30 minutes early all the time from work. Jenna gets an extra like work from home day, all of this stuff. And I am penalized when I ask for an extra work from home day. I am penalized for it. My supervisor declines the request. And I say, well, Jenna gets to do it. And then the reasoning is, well, Jenna has 2 kids. I'm sorry, but in this context, I don't give a fuck about Jenna's 2 kids. Jenna had a choice to have those kids. If Jenna is allowed to consistently show up late to work, then I should be able to do the exact same thing, regardless of how many children we have or the absence of children. Like, we should be able to have that same benefit, because I have a life too. Just because I don't have children right now doesn't mean I don't have a life. If Jenna has 3 days in office, 2 days remote because she has kids, then I should be entitled to the exact same thing, even if I don't have kids, right? Like, I shouldn't have to come in 4 days a week and then have 1 day remote because I don't have kids. I'm very anti, return to work in general, because it's been proven time and time again that people are equally, if not more, effective at their jobs from home. But there shouldn't be exceptions made on the basis of how many children people have, because I have a life too. Again, I said this before. I have a life too. If you are not able to care for your children and have a job at the same time, like, that's part of the decision-making process that you need to have with yourself and whoever it is that you are having a child with. If you are having a child with someone else, that's part of the decision-making process, is, can we support having kids and working? Can we do that? Maybe we should think more about how realistic it is for us to have kids right now. Part of the reason why I don't have kids right now is because I know for a fact I couldn't afford it. I can't afford to have a fucking babysitter right now. And so why am I, the person without kids, being punished and held to this like super high standard at work because I chose not to have kids? You know what I mean? Like, the same grace should be extended to me if I'm sick versus if Jenna has to leave early to pick up her child. Because having children is a choice. It's a choice.